ag trading giant Archer-Daniels-Midland. Tim, plunging the most ever today.
Yeah, this after it suspended its chief financial officer and cut its earnings outlook pending an investigation into its accounting practices. For more, let's bring in Simon Casey, Bloomberg News managing editor for Energy and Commodities Americas. He joins us here in the Bloomberg studio. So Simon, what do we know about the accounting probe here? We know that it involves the nutrition unit. They make ingredients for animal food, for human food. What can you tell us?
What else ADM said, and this came out Sunday evening, which always is a bit alarming.
Lucky
when companies,
you, huh?
Yes, lucky us. Weekend.
That's how it works.
End of my weekend. No, I'm joking. It was fun,
but it's serious
in a weird
right?
way. They said it, as you point out, the nutrition unit. So just back up a little bit. ADM is this big agricultural trader. It's been around for over 100 years. It's best known for trading, buying and selling corn, soybeans, wheat. It also has these downstream businesses. The nutrition business is something they've tried to build up substantially over the last decade or more.
Yeah, they made a big acquisition, right?
They've made several big acquisitions, particularly one back in 2014, I think it was, Wild Flavors, $3 billion, the biggest deal they've ever done. And they've been trying to grow this business, but they kind of hit a bit of a wall. It hasn't really fulfilled the highest expectations. So with that background in mind, they then said yesterday, we've suspended the CFO. We are looking specifically at this unit, not the trading business, not the core business, but this ingredients unit, as it's called, and inter-segment transactions, which suggests transactions between the nutritions unit and other parts of the business. Other than that, for sure, we don't know anything else. Also, should point out, they said they were acting on a request from the SEC for certain documentation. So
is that the SEC, Simon, just saying, hey, this doesn't quite make sense. Can you help us here? Or when the SEC does something like this, should we assume it's something a little bit more serious? Because the stock, I'm looking at it down 23%.
Those are both ways of reading it, quite frankly. The SEC is not saying anything, nor would he expect them to do so at the moment. So, there are situations these situations, it could plausibly be, as you say, genuine curiosity looking at the company. I just want to figure out what's going on here. Or it could be a whistleblower situation. I have to stress that's pure speculation. Don't know, but
the CFO was put on leave.
Yes.
Again, we don't want to read anything into it, but that's a pretty serious move.
It's a very, very serious situation, to be sure. And there is an internal investigation, and the stock has plunged by about 25% today. So,
and that's where I wanted to go, because investors are certainly saying that it's serious. What are analysts saying, and that could be potential outcomes here? Because investors are certainly voting one way.
Well, we saw a slew of downgrades this morning from various banks and sell side analysts. We saw, I think I looked at the Stifel notes that was put out earlier. They cut their stock price target by half, which gives you some indication of how bad this is. Yeah, like I say, this ingredients unit, it does not account for most of the revenue of the company, but it trades at a different multiple to the rest of the company, because the trading business is huge in terms of revenue and general sort of corporate activity, but it's a very volatile business. And this is the whole idea why the company was trying to get away from its dependence on this business and go into something a bit more predictable, a bit more value added, and the idea being you then juice the company's valuation. Now, if that business is going to have to be sort of re-rated considerably, who knows where the earnings will end up. And by the way, they've postponed their earnings. They were going to be for next week.
Right.
We don't know when they're going to be now, because they're furiously trying to figure out how much where their earnings actually ended up last year. They don't really know.
Simon, one last question, 30 seconds here. So for investors who are watching, and if you're trying to be upbeat on this stock, it's a hard thing to do, certainly when you look at the trade today. One day's trade. Having said that, what's the takeaway, or what's the date to maybe, or thinking around this? Like, what are you going to be watching when it comes to this stock? And
it's very hard to give anybody a date, because they offered no date. I don't know how long these kinds of investigations will really go on for, but I think it's safe to say investors need an answer and expecting an answer. And in the next few weeks, they're going to expect some sort of updates from the company.